Assalamualaikum teman-teman. Hi, good morning. I hope you are always healthy. So, introduce us from group 1, which consists of 4 members. The first is Sister Sartika, Sister Nur Amanda, Sister Nurinda Apriela, and myself, Rahmawati. So, here we will explain about collecting qualitative data. But before going into data collection method, I will explain what qualitative research is. What is qualitative research? Qualitative research is exploratory, providing understanding of opinions and motivations. Qualitative data is largely descriptive in nature, meaning it's used to analyze the quality of a subject rather than measure the quantity of a parameter. This is to say, you will use a qualitative education survey to understand why students are unhappy with course content as opposed to how many students were satisfied or dissatisfied. Qualitative data is also known as categorical data, as it can be grouped and segmented based on categories. These categories usually arise from your data as the most frequent feedback, response, or language used by participants. For example, you could have positive, neutral, and negative response for an employee satisfaction survey. Okay, next, choosing between quantitative and qualitative data collection. Choosing between quantitative and qualitative data is different. Open your goals, i.e., what are trying to achieve with your research. If your aim to build a demographic database of regional or national residents, then you'll likely be running a fully quantitative survey. But if you're conducting a 360-degree review of employees, you are going to need use more open-ended question, meaning there will be a quantitative aspect into your research. Whether you choose to collect on qualitative or quantitative data will impact the way you frame your research questions. Qualitative questions encourage participants to explore a subject in detail, whilst quantitative questions require a definitive answer. So, what choice you make will impact the construction of your research project.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Amanda. Okay, I will explain about the qualitative data. Qualitative research requires a much smaller sample for data to be collected from. This is because you'll be collecting more in-depth responses from each participant and will have plenty to work with when it comes to your analysis. With methods such as record keeping, there isn't even a need for a respondent pool. Only access to previous research and text on the subject matter. Qualitative research methods. There are a few common methods by which you can collect qualitative data. First, interviews, case studies, secondary research, expert opinions, online surveys, paper surveys, and observational studies. There are two main approaches to analyzing qualitative data. There is inductive and deductive. Okay, number one is deductive reasoning. A deductive approach will have the researcher begin with an initial hypothesis or expectation for the data set. The results you collect are then used to either prove or disprove those expectations. For the second is inductive reasoning. An inductive approach does not require a theory or any expectation to begin research and is the more commonly used method for qualitative data analysis. Instead, you collect data from your sample, then work to identify patterns and trends within the data set. Your analysis process is fairly simple. Measure your data against the parameters you set in your hypothesis or against the questions you ask. However, if you're using inductive reasoning, picking a method of analyzing can be overwhelming, so our suggestion is to use bucketing.
Hello guys, so here I will continue the explanation from Sister Nur Amanda. So in addition to the two main analyses on qualitative data, it turns out that there is one analysis that is highly recommended, namely the bucketing analysis. So what we have to do in bucketing analysis, first is review your data. It means that we have to read more or review our data that we have obtained into general knowledge. Second is identify patterns and trends. In this section, we have to categorize our data into several buckets based on trends and repeating patterns. Then, each bucket should have one response in order for us to get multiple points of view. The bucket method in this second point is simple because it will only contain positive, neutral, and negative comments. The third is categorizing buckets. This is actually an optional method, but categorizing buckets into smaller terms and patterns can help us develop our understanding of the data. Next is the fourth is a review the bucket. Here we need to review the division of the bucket as explained in the second and third points, and then review whether there is anything that needs to be combined or divided into certain categories. The last is summarizing the main trends. It can be done by most frequently used phrases or words by the research object so that we can make conclusions. Okay, the next material is the strength of qualitative research. First is data is inferential. The kind of language your respondent uses can often tell you as much about how they feel or what thing is what they said. If you learn to pick up on these linguistic nuances, they can inform more than your research. The second is more meaningful feedback. Where quantitative data is numerical in nature, qualitative data provides more in-depth and meaningful feedback. You can gain more of understanding of participants' reasoning and beliefs. The third is data collection requires less resources. Because maybe your respondent pool is smaller, you will require less time and investment if you are incentivizing participants and to conduct your research. Last, research is carried out in our environment. It will be very easy because then we can more easily observe the object of research and it can more valid.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Sartika and in this video I will continue my friend's explanation of this material. And here I will explain about weaknesses of qualitative research. Okay, go ahead. Weaknesses of qualitative research divided into 4 parts. Their analysis is time-consuming, smaller respondent pool, research is skill-dependent, and finally, no clear strategy analysis. Okay, the following explanations. The first of all, analysis is time-consuming, as the type of data you collect for a qualitative survey is typically long form. The results will take more time and effort to analyze. Okay, next, smaller respondent pool. Qualitative surveys only need a small sample size, so it can be more difficult to generalize your results for a wider populations. And then, research is skill dependent. Face-to-face interviews and focus group require researchers to know when to continue a line of questionings and when to move on. There is a fine line between gaining more context to answer and collecting superfluous feedback. Finally, no clear strategy analysis. Unclear analytical strategy means an erratic analysis strategy, where the analysis used is irregular and can change. So, my explanation was at the same time closing the video presentation from us Group 1. And the conclusion of the material is qualitative surveys are fantastic for collecting experiential data and feedback. In an ideal world, you would incorporate both quantitative and qualitative research methods into your project, enabling you to collect data for statistical analysis, from which you can draw generalized conclusions and open-ended responses to provide context to your dataset. And I think that's all our material, And I am Sartika, representing my friends Nurinda Apriela, Rahmawati, and Nur Amanda to say thank you very much for watching this video. See you in the next video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.